ki jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Madan Mohan Ju ki jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashata Rashata Shishimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gosvāmī Mahārāja Śrīla Gurudeva ki jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashata Rashata Shishimad Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosvāmī Mahārāja ki jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashata Rashata Shishimad Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosvāmī Mahārāja ki jai. Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashata Rashata Shishimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashata Rashata Shishimad Bhakti Pragyan Keśava Gosvāmī Mahārāja Śrīla Paramgurudeva ki jai. Tadiya 125th Vyasa Puja Maha Mahotsav ki jai. Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashata Rashata Shishimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosvāmī Prabhupada ki jai. Nitya Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Śrīla Gaurkishoras Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitya Pravishta Śrīla Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nitya Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupa Nuga Gaudiya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jiva Gopala Patadash Raghunath Sharda Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradatta Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kund ki jai. Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi ki jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya ki jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Jai Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keśava Gosvāmī Mahārāja Srila Paramgurudeva Vyasa Puja Maha Mahotsav ki jai. Titiya Shubha Avirbhav Titi ki jai. Titi Palan Kari Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Hari Bol, everybody. Madhavi Didi, Indira Mataji, Prajumna Prabhu, Mantra Murti Mataji. All right, so I was up till 2 o'clock in the morning last night, and then I got up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, or a little bit after 4. No, like 4:15 or something. And then I went, so I only slept like a couple hours. Then I went for, after Mangalarti, I stayed up for a little bit, and then I went to sleep again, and that's why I look like this. That's my room start. Okay, you're not going to stay till the end. There's a Pushpanjali downstairs, so you'll go soon. Okay, so I was thinking that we could read things by my Śrīla Gurudev. There's in this book, Treasury of Holy Days, there's beautiful class that my Gurudev gave, and also this article that we just posted, a collection of flowers. We'll read that also, and then if there's more time, then we can read other things. So I'll just share my screen here, and we begin. Should we start with this? Why not? Okay. So this is what my Gurudev spoke on the disappearance day of Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keśava Gosvāmī. Our Guru Maharaj appeared in a landowners in the famous village of Banaripada in the district of Jeshore in East Bengal. When he was born, his body was very soft and beautiful, and because he had a golden complexion, his mother and all the local ladies gave him the nickname Jonah, meaning glowworm. His actual name was Bhima. For approximately 3 or 4 months, He didn't speak or cry at all, and his family was very worried. One day, a Muslim mendicant who came to their home begging said to Gurudev's mother, "Your son is not speaking?" She replied, "How did you know that? If you can, please make him speak somehow." The mendicant replied, "Do one thing. In the village, there are some untouchables, persons from the Shudra class who work in the cremation grounds. They eat low-grade rice is left soaking overnight. Beg some of this rice from them, feed it to your child, and then he will speak." Guru Maharaja's mother was a very hard-working lady who mostly looked after their land. She would discipline her children very strictly, and they would never go anywhere without her permission. Everyone respected her. When she approached one of these Shudra families and asked for some of this rice, they said, "How can you eat this? It has been touched by us." She replied, "Don't worry, just give me some of it." Obtaining some of this rice, she took it back to her home and put it before the child. And at once he started crying, "Ma, ma," and began speaking from that point on. In his boyhood, our Gurudev was very close to his father, who was especially affectionate towards him. At that time, the people of East Bengal were very religious, and there would always be readings from Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam going on. Then the partition came, and it was as if the very heart of Bengal was torn out. From early childhood, Gurudev would grasp his father's finger and accompany him to religious programs, and if it was dark, he would sit on his father's shoulders. Thus, religious philosophy became his interest. There is a Hindi proverb, "Honahar viravan ke hotta chikane pata," which means that when a sapling will grow to be fruitful, its leaves are very big and beautiful. Coming events cast their shadow, and from his childhood, the symptoms were there that he would become a great personality. 1 second. Mouth's dry. As he grew up, he spent most of his time in the company of a great Mahatma who had an ashram in the village. There he would hear readings from the Gita, Bhagavatam, and Vedanta. When he was at school, at a very young age, he started his own magazine, and its language was very literary. He was also an excellent speaker, and when he would speak in a large assembly, there would be no need of a loudspeaker. He didn't know as many shlokas as some devotees, but he would give such beautiful explanations. There is one verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 1-11, of which he would give an especially beautiful explanation. Vadanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yajnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabdate. The Paratattva is Bhagavat Tattva. From Brahma, there is Parabrahma. From Atma, there is Paramatma. And from Vishnu, there is Mahavishnu. But for Swayam Bhagavan Krishna, there is no necessity of the words Param Swayam Bhagavan, because Krishna is the supreme Tattva, and Brahma and Paramatma are his reflection and plenary portion respectively. Brahma cannot actually be called an object, because any object must necessarily have qualities. Brahma is the potency of an object, and can be said to be the shelter of an object, but Brahma itself is not an object. The names Brahma, Paramatma, and Bhagavan are synonymous, but Bhagavan is to be worshipped, not Brahma, because Brahma is formless. When I first joined the Mat, I received such special mercy from Bhagavan that I had the opportunity to accompany our Gurudev to many big programs where he would speak, I got to go to big programs where he'd speak, and he always kept me with him. He gave my senior godbrother, Śrīla Mahārāja, the responsibility for printing, and, being a very qualified man, he has since printed many books and magazines, one after the other. In order to help with the magazine and cooking, and to look after many services, Guruji would keep me with him. His style of speaking and writing was wonderful, and it was my great fortune to hear so much from him. I always took notes and stayed with him like his shadow. Vaman Maharaj, just as now, was very quiet and didn't speak much. But my dear godbrother Trivikram Maharaj and myself were very talkative. We were always engaged in debating about this and that, and when Guruji would become tired of us, he would say, "Take this book, the answer is there." These days, devotees don't discuss topics of tattva much. Instead, they speak about the type of clothing they wear and what kind of food they eat. When two Vaishnavas meet, they should discuss tattva, and it was our great fortune to hear talks on bhakti tattva from very learned devotees. But these days, hardly anyone takes the time to discuss the meaning of the scriptures. Guruji was so intelligent and had so much potency in speaking that he could change yes to no and no to yes. It was amazing. Without such devotees, preaching would simply not go on. If one of us wants to write and publish something, we have to look in many, many books and do so much editing. And even if 5 of us are working together, we still may have a difficulty writing something. But what would Guru Maharaj do? At the annual Navadip Parikrama, 5,000 to 7,000 devotees would come to offer pranam to him, and he would speak with many of them. Somehow, in the midst of all this commotion, he would simultaneously dictate an article for his magazine to Vaman Maharaj. There would not be any necessity to check it. At once it was ready to go to press. It was amazing how he would never have to look in any book. When one of us is preparing to speak something, we have to first look in so many books. And when we listen to someone speak or when we read something, we have to take notes in order to retain it. But Guru Maharaj in his whole life never took any notes. He read so many books. His library here is in the Mutt in Mathura. But he never took any notes. And he knew so much history. No Acharya knew more history than him. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Prabhupada called him a Vedantic Pandit. One second, just checking the comments. Hari Bol Ladini Shakti and Raseshwari Mataji, Yashji, Gargarajji, and Sudevi Didi. Dandavat pranams all of you. Guru Maharaj went from East Bengal to study at a very old and famous college near Kolkata. Many scholars studied there, and admission was not granted to everyone. But due to his superior intelligence, he was awarded admission. In his very first year, the dean and professors would call him to read Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita to them. Chaitanya Charitamrita was composed in Bengali, but there is no Sanskrit book that can match its highly poetic and philosophical language. Jiver Swarupa Hoy, Krishnera Nityadas, Krishnera Tatasta Shakti, Bheda Bhed Prakash. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 20:108. The inherent form of the jiva is that of an eternal servant of Sri Krishna. The jiva is the marginal potency of Krishna, and therefore simultaneously one with and different from him. The dean and professors were unable to explain this verse. Even in our sampradaya, you will find very few devotees who can properly explain it. So our Gurudev would have philosophical discussions with them, and in the end he left that college saying, "Even the professors here understand nothing, so what will they teach me?" At that time, Gandhi had started his movement to oppose the British government, saying, "The English must leave India. They will not impose the salt tax." All over India, the people revolted against the British. So many big names like Bala Gangadhar. Bala Gangadhar Tilak, Gorakhle, C.R. Das, P.C. Rai, and Laja Patarai. All of them joined the opposition movement. It was as if the blood of India's youth was boiling, and at once all of India's industry stopped. Then the English thought, Gandhi has so much influence? Our Gurudev joined as well, but when Gandhi withdrew his movement due to violence, Guruji, along with many others, joins the revolutionary party of Subhas Chandra Bose. Taking a knife and a rifle, he remains hidden within the forests and jungles for some time. At that time, the British government issued a warrant for his arrest. He later joins the Gaudiya mission, and then 10 years afterwards, the British government finally came to know of his whereabouts. One day, some agents came to Mayapur with a warrant for Guruji's arrest. So they came with a warrant for Guruji's arrest, and they approached Prabhupada about it. Prabhupada told them, But look how he has completely changed. He has become a sadhu, a mahatma. After discussing the matter with Prabhupada and considering further, they withdrew the warrant. Guruji was a champion footballer, and he was proficient in all subjects. He was an all-rounder. He is proficient in sports, in studying, in fighting, in managing people, and in speaking sweetly. At the age of only 16, he was managing all the tenants on his father's land. He first came to the Chaitanya Mat in Mayapur at that age, and desired to receive Harinam and Diksha from Prabhupada when he was only 16 years old. Wow. For some time, he returned to his home and went to college, but at the age of 18, he returned to the Mat with his aunt. She was a very scholarly lady, and together they would compose very beautiful poems and essays. I just posted on the Gaudiya Kirtan mailing list a poem that she wrote about Paramgurudeva. It was like 200 and I don't know how many verses, 270 verses or something like that. Once when they were conversing in Mayapur, Prabhupada said, "We will go on parikrama of the entire planet and establish one mat after the other. In England, America, and all of the holy places of India, such as Haridwar, Prayag, and Vrindavan, Kashi, and South India, preaching will go on." Then Guruji's aunt said, "You are seeing a very big dream. You are like the poor man who begged a torn bag from someone, placed it under his head, and fell asleep. While sleeping, he dreamed, 'Oh, I am a millionaire. I am an emperor.' Who will see to all of this?" Prabhupada replied, "Vinod will see to it." That was Paramgurudev's name as a brahmachari. After this, Guru Mahārāja began staying in the mat and did not return to his home again. He had all of the symptoms of a great personality on his body. His form was softer than butter, his arms extended down to his knees, and all auspicious signs were on his hands. He had artist's fingers, very thin and long. In the morning, he would eat just a little simple rice with some salt, and then go out and work hard collecting donations for the mat all day. He would collect 1 paisa from each person, rather than taking a large amount from anyone. He would go to places where there were large crowds, such as the bus and train stations, speak about Mahaprabhu's doctrine to people, and take just 1 paisa from each person. He would keep this money locked up in a box that had a slot on the top for the coins, and the key was left with Prabhupada. He would do this every day until sunset, without even eating anything else. One time, Prabhupada was being driven along in his car in Kolkata, and he saw Vinod resting under a tree with that money box placed under his head as a pillow. Tears came to his eyes, and he said, "Such a beautiful young boy from a wealthy family, only 18 years old, and for me, for the service of Bhagavan, he has left his parents and is undergoing such hardships." When Gurudev returned to the mat that night, Prabhupada called him and said, "Vinod, you are sleeping on the grounds at Garimata? You are undergoing so much hardship. Guruji replied, No, this hardship is a matter of great happiness, if only you will be satisfied with me. This is my everything. What more could I desire? If the Guru is pleased, then Bhagavan is pleased. There is nothing greater than this. Prabhupada would call Guruji Tu or Tui. There was only one other person for whom Prabhupada used this affectionate name, and that was Paramananda Prabhu, who was always with Prabhupada. So, in Hindi and Bengali, there are three ways of saying you. There's the respectful way, ap or apni, and then there's the friendly way, like the familiar way, which is tum or tumi, and then there's the very intimate way, which can either be disrespectful or the way a lover will talk to her, her lover, or how like a grandfather will talk to his grandson. And so that is tu or tui. So Prabhupada would address everybody as apni, but he wouldn't even address anybody as tum or tumi. But with Paramgurudeva, he would use the most intimate address of tu or tui. Guruji was very intimate with Prabhupada and would sleep only near him. Even if he went to take rest at 1 or 2 in the morning, he would knock on the door to Prabhupada's room. The other devotees would complain, but Prabhupada would always get up and open the door for him. Once, Guruji was out collecting with Siddha Swarup Brahmachari, who later became Srila Bhakti Swarup Siddhanti Maharaj. They had collected one large bag, completely full with vegetables, and another half full. They got off the train at Howrah station, which was about 5 miles from the Math. There was no public transportation which covered the entire distance at that time, and there was no money available in the Math for taking a rickshaw. Gurudeva lifted up the full bag and said, "Let's go." But Siddhanti Maharaj said, "No, you are my older brother and my Shiksha Guru. Therefore, I will take the full bag." Guruji replied, "No, you are a small boy, my younger brother. I will take it." Snatching it back and forth from one another, finally Guruji convinced Siddhanti Maharaj and carried that weight all the way to the Math. This is how he did Guru Seva. Whenever any necessity arose, Prabhupada would say, "Where is Vinod?" One second, let me just check everything. Okay. After Guru Maharaja's father passed away, his mother was crying for her son Vinod day and night, even though she had 3 other sons in the house. One was a high school headmaster, who later also became Prabhupada's disciple and the Acharya of the Gaudiya mission, Srila Odolomi Maharaj. He was fluent in English and a very talented speaker and writer. Vinod was the youngest of the brothers. His mother sent a letter to Prabhupada saying, "Please send Vinod for some time to attend some work here on our land, and when it is completed, he will return to you." There were some Muslim tenants who had refused to pay their rent for about 5 years, so Prabhupada sent him there. Amongst the tenants, there was one gunda, a hooligan, who was a very large man and the worst of them all. Guruji ordered one of his family's hired workers to apprehend this man and bring him to the house. The man was beaten 3 or 4 times, and after this, all the tenants began paying their rent. On Prabhupada's land in Mayapur, also there were Muslims who were not paying their rent. Prabhupada was thinking to sell the land, but Guruji pleaded with him to allow him to try and procure the rent money from these people. Prabhupada said, "What will you do? You are only a boy of 18 years. Eventually Prabhupada agreed, and Guruji had the ringleader apprehended, tied to a jackfruit tree and beaten. Immediately all the tenants there became frightened and began paying their rent, and Guruji offered that money as Pushpanjali at the feet of Prabhupada. But Guruji would care for these people. But Guruji would care for those people whom he respected more than he would for his own life. Everyone respected him like a father. At the end of her life, Guru Maharaja's mother sent another letter to Prabhupada saying, "Please send my dear son Vinod home for a little while." He called Vinod and told him, "Your mother is dying. You must go to her immediately." Instead of going, Guruji went and hid somewhere in the mutt for a whole day and night. When Prabhupada came to know of it, he sent for Guruji and told him, "Your mother is very ill. You should go to her. I instructed you to go, so why haven't you gone?" Guru Maharaj replied, "Prabhu, after so many births, I have attained the shelter of your feet. By your mercy, I have finally come to Bhagavad Bhakti after so many births. Suppose I go to my mother, and while she is taking her last breath, she places her hand on my head and says to me, 'I am going now. Who will look after our property? You must do it.' What will I do then? Having left your lotus feet, I will again be trapped in Maya." Falling at Prabhupada's feet, he began crying, and Prabhupada bestowed plentiful blessings upon him. Until one's determination is like this, he does not have the qualification to leave his home and family. One must have the understanding of a Madhyam Adhikari, that the bodily relations of this material world are meaningless. Otherwise, even without being requested, one will automatically return to his home and family. And if he does continue to stay in the mutt, it will only be for procuring money, women, and prestige. He will have gone in a circle and will end up back where he started. Therefore, one cannot leave his home and family until he has this qualification. There was a disciple of Prabhupada named Ramagovinda Vidyaratna, who was a scholar of Vedanta, the Bhagavatam, and all the scriptures. He was a very good devotee and later became Nemi Maharaj. Once he desired to have darshan of Prabhupada's guru, Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj, and Guruji also wanted to go. So taking Prabhupada's permission, they went. At that time, to avoid the trouble that ordinary people were giving him, Babaji Maharaj had locked himself in a latrine for about a week and was just chanting, "Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna." The news reached the district magistrate and the police superintendent, and at once they all came running there. Seeing that the door was locked from inside, they approached with folded hands and said, "Babaji Maharaj, we will construct you a very nice hut for bhajan." He replied, "No, this is very nice." "Why?" "Because the stench of the lust of materialistic people does not come here. I prefer the stench of stool to that." "All right, Maharaj, we will supply you with one boy to keep those people away from you." Day and night they were trying to persuade him to come out, but he would only say, "For me, this is Vaikunta." So many times they asked him to please open the door, but time and again he would reply, "I am not well, I am unable to do it." He would not open the door for those people, and he just continued chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Then Guruji approached the door and said, "Babaji Maharaj, we are the disciples of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati." Hearing the name of Prabhupada, Babaji Maharaj at once stood up. Opening the door, he let them in and again locked the door. The two boys offered pranam, and grasping the feet of Babaji Maharaj, Guruji said, "Please give us your blessings." Then Babaji Maharaj told them, "I will take all of your hardships and impediments away so that you can always perform bhajan freely. This is my blessing." Later on, Guruji would say on many occasions that although difficulties may have come to him from time to time, by the mercy of Babaji Maharaj, nothing could ever disturb him. Jai. Jai Shri Keśava Gosvāmī Maharaj Paramgurudeva ki Jai. Jai Shri Gurudeva ki jai. All right, so now I'm going to read this article that is posted on Raise of the Harmonist mailing list. It's called Kusum Chayanika. One second, just need to turn down. Okay, so special online edition for the 120th appearance day of Shri Srimad Bhakti Pragyan Keśava Gosvāmī Mahārāja. Okay, so this is how it appeared in the original article. Shishi Guru Gorango Jayataha, heralding auspiciousness for the entire world on the occasion of Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajacacharya Varya, Ashtotara Shatashi Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keśava Gosvāmī Mahārāja's 67th appearance day. One second, my mouth's dry, just drinking some water. Okay. So, Srila Acharya Dev Ki Kripa Vaishishta Kusum Chayanika, a collection of flowers, the speciality of Srila Acharya Dev's mercy, by Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Gosvāmī Mahārāja. Beautiful picture, huh? Nama Om Vishnu Padaya. Nama Om Vishnu Pada Shri Bhakti Pragyana Keśava Shri Prabhupada Preshtaya Gaura Parshadarupine. I offer obeisances unto Om Vishnupad Shri Bhakti Pragyan Keśava, dearly beloved of Shri Prabhupada, an associate of Gaur Hari. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishta Paripurakamurtaye Gaura Sarasvatamnaya Acharyaya Namo Namaha. You are the personified fulfillment of Shri Chaitanya's innermost desires, teacher of the divine Gaurasat message, and you are the teacher of the divine Gaura Saraswat message. I bow repeatedly unto you. Gura Anuragine Tubhyam Shri Siddhanta Saraswati Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Sarupaya Namo Namaha. You are possessed of profound attachment for Shri Siddhanta Saraswati, and you are the personification of Shri Gaura's compassion potency. I bow unto you. Shri Rupanuga Siddhanta Vipakshi Mukhamardine Krishna Tattva Samraje Kriti Ratnayate Namaha. You subdue and rectify those who are antagonistic toward the illusions of the Rupanugas. You are the sovereign of those acquainted with the truth of Krishna, and you are Kriti Ratna, which means each of your accomplishments is an exquisite jewel. I bow unto you. First flower. I address you who fulfilled the heartfelt ambitions of Srila Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. You are his beloved companion and foremost of his heirs. Following Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada's disappearance pastime, the Rupanuga Saraswat Gaudiya current was forced to progress along a treacherous path rife with innumerable obstacles. Srila Prabhupada's genuine servants were severely tested. The stories about this are heartrending. In that period, the preaching centers Srila Prabhupada had established began closing down one by one. The publications of spiritual periodicals in Bengali, Hindi, English, and Sanskrit, namely the Gaudiya, Bhagavat, the Harmonist, and Sajantoshani, stopped. The worldwide reverberations of the Brihad Mridanga, or printing press, that published literature concerning pure devotion also ceased. Pilgrimages to Sri Dham Navadip, Vrajamandal, Kshetramandal, and other places dwindled into obscurity. Those brahmacharis and others living in the Math, whose faith was too tender, gave up the Math lifestyle. Without shelter, they returned to their previous ashrams, their previous stations in life. Some of the sannyasis scattered here and there and began performing bhajan in solitude, idly passing their lives somehow or other. Everyone became passive and bewildered, through and through. During these dark days of Saraswata Gaudiya Vaishnavism, you established the Sri Gaudiya Vedanta Samiti. On Srila Prabhupada's order, received in a dream, you accepted Tridanda Sannyas in Sri Katwa, the sacred spot where Sriman Mahaprabhu enacted his Sannyas Lila. Taking a firm vow to fulfill Srila Prabhupada's innermost desire and preach the message of Sri Gaur Hari, Gauravani, you freed the checked flow of the Saraswat current and spread it not only throughout all of Bengal, but also Bihar, Assam, Odisha, Uttar Pradesh, and other places all over India. You were the first to revive Sri Navadip Parikrama and to start publishing a monthly spiritual magazine, Sri Gaudiya Patrika, once again. You were even the first to revive pilgrimages to Vrajmandal, Kshetramandal, Dwarka Dham, Badri Narayan Dham, Naimisharanya, and the holy places of South India, by which you reinitiated the preaching of Gauravani everywhere. Revived and enthused by these actions, you took to preach bhakti. Your godbrothers followed your example. The Saraswat Gaudiya Vaishnav family is and always will be in your debt for restoring momentum to the virtually extinct current of Saraswat Vaishnavism. I offer repeated obeisances unto your lotus feet, which are more soothing than millions of moons, and which inspire fearlessness. That was the first flower. Second flower. Srila Saraswati Gosvāmī Thakur was a direct associate of Sri Gaura. Once you heard his message of pure devotion, you could not bear to be separated from him, and though still in your tender teenage years, you gave up, as if they were bits of straw, the love of your doting mother, the infatuation of friends, grand opulence, and wealth befitting a king, the desire for pratishta, and the thrills of an upper-class education, and you offered yourself wholeheartedly at the feet of your Sri Guru, thereby becoming supremely dear to him. In the early days of preaching Sri Gaura's message, when there were only 3 or 4 people living in the Math with Srila Prabhupada, and he was conceiving of his wide-reaching plan to establish centers around the world to preach pure devotion, he would say with firm conviction, "This Vinod will manage all of these centers." Srila Prabhupada would engage you in confidential services. He was so pleased with you that he adorned you with title Kriti Ratna, he whose achievements are veritable jewels, which was a divine utterance, a vani of blessing, indicative of devotion. When the rogues of Kulia, antagonists of pure religion, made their atrocious attack, you repeated the ideal of Guru Seva as shown once before by Sri Ramanujacharya's prominent disciple, Sri Kuresh, who is the exemplar of a Guru Sevak. By subduing various disruptive individuals and factions who oppose the practice of devotion, You served Shri Gaura's divine name, Shri Gaurnam, Shri Gaura's holy abode, Shri Gauradham, and Shri Gaura's heartfelt desires, Shri Gaurakam, in so many ways, which was the cherished desire, the monobhishta of your Shri Guru, and you continue to do so. O you who are the dearly beloved of your Guru and foremost of acharyas, I offer my respects millions and millions of times unto your lotus feet. Third flower. Sorry, 1 second. Okay. The first time you led Sridham Parikrama after Srila Prabhupada orchestrated his pastime of disappearance, you were victimized by the Kulangars, those who brought disgrace to the Saraswat Vaishnava family, who are antagonistic to Guru and Vaishnavas. Yet, you nevertheless exemplified the model of tolerance, that is, taror iva suhishnuta, being more tolerant than a tree. Despite an onslaught of unwarranted cutting remarks of, and the name was redacted, of blank, you displayed the pinnacle of humility, trinada pi sunicha, being more humble than a blade of grass, manada, deference, and amani, modesty, resulting in the palpable bewilderment and astonishment of your godbrothers in recounting the said events. Satisfied by the modest service of your surrendered and exclusively devoted disciple Ananga Mohan Brahmachari, you blessed him with the attainment of love for Krishna and Krishna's divine abode, thereby establishing the blazing ideal of protecting and nurturing one's dependents. Hearts as dry as wood or stone melt upon remembering you. Seeing your disciples experience even the slightest difficulty causes you great distress, and you are always endeavoring to fortify them with the realized knowledge of their relationship with Krishna. You are the concentration of Shri Gaura's compassion. You are the personified form and preceptor of the statement, Kirtaniya Sada Hari, constantly sing and chant the glories and names of Hari. I surrender my all unto your lotus feet. Fourth flower. Hari Bol Ganga Mataji. Fourth flower. You encompass the specialities of your predecessor acharyas while remaining luminous in your own speciality and originality. You established Shri Gaudiya Vedanta Samiti to correct the common erroneous notions that the purport of Vedanta Sutra is Nirvishesh Jnana, monism, and that the followers of Shankar's doctrine are Vedantists. You established it to propagate the fact that Vedanta Sutra's true and only purport is Krishna Bhakti, and that Vaishnavas, specifically Saraswat Gaudiya Vaishnavas, are true Vedantists. Preserving the distinction of your own bona fide Tridandi lineage, and at the same time, preserving the special contributions of previous acharyas, you manifested the tradition of the Bhakti Vedanta name. You are non-different from Shri Jiva Gosvāmī, Shri Baladev Vijayabhushan, and Srila Saraswati Thakur in the way you devise ever new, wondrous, and unassailable arguments that refute Mayavad and various misguided anti-bhakti sects and complement your Swapaksha, your family. We repeatedly perform arti to your lotus feet. Fifth flower. Armed with the resolute evidence from Scripture and wielding the razor-sharp weapons of your invincible arguments, you shattered the foundations of Sahajyaism, thereby delighting Srila Prabhupada and his dear associates. In Mayavadiki Jivani, you pulverized the fortress of Mayavad by the force of your innovative arguments and scriptural evidence, proving that it is really covert Buddhism. You have displayed your dedication to following in the footsteps of Srila Rupa Gosvāmī and your wondrous power of creativity in the following articles: Sri Janmashtami Darshanak Alochana, a philosophical study of Sri Janmashtami; Pradip Shika, The Lamp's Flame, the introduction to Prem Pradeep. Amar Vaktavya, the introduction to Shri Rupa Nuga Bhajan Sampat. I translated that. Chalani O Shucha, the sieve and the needle. And with one profound little article, Nimbaditya and Nimbarka are not the same person. You silenced all the misguided, baseless chatter of those relishing Nimbaras, which also means bitter neem juice. Your book, Achitta Bheda Bhed, served as a razor-sharp trident to dismember the three-headed who betrayed your guru, Vasudeva, Sundarananda, and the prominent Sahajya, Haridas. The three-headed demon. So you dismembered the three-headed demon of those who betrayed your guru and their philosophies, which were opposed to the current of Sri Saraswat Gauria's conceptions. Thus, you served Srila Prabhupada's cherished ambitions and accomplished the grand task of protecting the Sampradaya. In Assam, within the most formidable fortress of the Hankar Sampradaya, in a huge assembly, you refuted all of their unfounded arguments like a fearless lion, establishing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Bhagavan himself and the preeminence of pure devotion. At the Akhila Bhangiya Sanskrit Sammelan, the Bengal-wide Sanskrit conference in Chunchura, you showed no concern for public opinion by refuting the karma and gyan that are opposed to the Lord, as well as Mayavad and other misguided philosophies. You then established pure devotion to Krishna, thus highlighting your role as Acharya in preaching the uncompromising truth. I offer my repeated obeisances unto your lotus feet, O Acharya Keshari, lion-like Acharya teacher. Sixth flower. When you read the descriptions of Shri Rathayatra from Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita during the grand festival of Shri Rathayatra, you became submerged in the ocean of Vipralambaras and began to weep, causing all the listeners to weep. You display such humility when extolling Srila Prabhupada's glories in front of his Samadhi temple in Sri Mayapur that even hearts as hard as thunderbolts melt and seep out through the channels of the eyes. O foremost of acharyas, you are the personification of the ocean of Vipralambaras, and you hold the message of Sri Rupa and Raghunath so dear. I offer millions upon millions of obeisances unto your lotus feet, which are venerated by the hosts of demigods. Seventh flower. In Sri Navadvip Dham, which is Vraj, on the island of Sri Koladvip, which is Sri Govardhan, in the region of the islands that corresponds to the Rasastali, you established the presiding deity of that part of the Dham, Sri Sri Koladev, in the Samiti's main temple. There you manifested the wondrous Shri Shri Radha Vinod Bihari, Krishna embraced by Shri Radha, who is absorbed in the infinite ocean of Vipralambaras and imbued with the exalted state of divine love, referred to as Adhiruddha Mahabhav. On the one hand, in a splendorous and unprecedented manner, you demonstrated your role as an acharya in the line of Srila Rupa Gosvāmī, and on the other, you revealed your own magnificent speciality and originality. O Rupanuga Acharya, may you be forever victorious. Eighth flower. In an astonishing way, you have revealed the ideal of Guru Nishta and the most sublime principles of Guru Tattva in the verses of Srila Prabhupada Arati. Conviction in Shri Gaura Krishna and the verses of Shri Shri Gaur Govinda Mangal Arati. Conviction in Shri Vrinda Devi in the verses of Shri Tulsi Arati. And Guru Nishta, Upasya Tattva, the truth of the deity, Upasya Nishta, faith in the deity, and Achinta Bheda Bhed Tattva, the truth of simultaneous oneness and difference, all together in the Shri Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Tattvashtaka. These songs are... Should we sing Radha Vinod Bihari Tatvashtaka after this? Yeah, let's do that, huh? These songs are great, invaluable, and immortal gems of Gaudiya Vaishnava literature, and contain the most sublime illustrations of essential philosophical truths, profound scholarship, peerless esoteric expertise, rasikata, and that fathomless flavor of love called vipralamba, longing and separation. In order to spread the message of Sri Chaitanya all over the planet Earth, you convened the grand sacrifice, the Mahayagya of Sankirtan. O most exalted of the teachers in the line of Sri Vyasa, on the occasion of your appearance and its celebration, my sole fervent prayer at your lotus feet is that I too may be able to offer my life as mere kindling in fulfilling this great sacrifice, which is your cherished ambition. O ocean of compassion and foremost of acharyas, the specialities of your mercy are blossoms of divinity, infinite and innumerable. Never could they be counted. I have plucked but a few petals from them, and, in a childish effort, attempted to worship your feet in the way that one makes oblations of Ganga water into the Ganga herself. Kindly reveal a glimpse of your transcendental message within my heart, and grant me the eligibility to serve your dearest ambitions. Praying for mercy, Tridandi Swami Bhaktivedanta Narayan. And this was published in Shri Bhagavat Patrika, Year 9, Issue 12. That's in 1963. Translated by the Rays of the Harmonist team. And we published this in the book Kriti Ratna. It's the last article of the book. Alright, so I'm going to get my mridanga and we can sing Radha Vinod Bihari Tatvashtakam. One second, let me just check. Oh. Haribol Bhavatarani Mataji. Let's see, where should I open it? Oh, I think I have the songbook on here. Let me just get it from here. There. Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Tatvashtakam. Why Shri Krishna acquired a bright complexion. Oh, I have a lot to do this morning also, so I'm just going to sing the song and then we'll end. Radha Chinta Niveshena Yasya Kantir Vilopita Shri Krishna Charanam Vande Radha Lingita Vigraham Sevya Seva Kasam Bhoge Dvayor Beda Kuto Bhavet Vipralambe Tu Sarvasa Beda Sada Vivardhate Chilila Tunam Tatvam Beda Bedam Achintyakam Shakti Shakti Matorakyam Yoga parvartate sada Tattvamekam parang vidya Lilaya tadvidastitam Gora Krishna swayam hitar Ubhavo bhayam apnuta Sarve varna yatra vishta Gora kantirvikashate Sarva varne nahi nastu Krishna varna prakashate Sagunam nirgunam tattvam Ekameva dvitiyakam Sarvanitya gunairgora Krishna rasastu nirgunai Shri Krishna mitunam brahma Tyaktva tu nirgunam hitat Upasate mrisha vigya Yathatu shavagatina Shivinora Bihariyo Radhaya Milito Dhyata Shivinora Bihariyo Radhaya Milito Yadha Tadaham Vandanam Kuryam Saraswati Prasadata Iti Tatvashtakam Nityam Yapatit Shadayanvita Krishna Tattvam Abhigyaya Gaurapade Bhavenmati Radha Chinta Niveshena Yasya Kantir Vilopita O Radha Chinta Niveshena Yasya Kantir Vilopita Shri Krishna Charanam Vande Radha Lekita Vigram Shri Krishna Charanam Vande Radha Lekita Vigram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Jaya Sachinanda Jaya Gaura Hari Sachinanda Jaya Gaura Hari Jaya Radha Vinod Bihari Radha Vinod Bihari Radhe Jai Radha Vinod Bihari Radha Vinod Bihari Radhe Jaya Bhakti Pragyan Śrīla Keśava Gosvāmī Bhakti Pragyan Śrīla Keśava Gosvāmī, Jaya Bhakti Pragyan, Keśava Gosvāmī, Bhakti Pragyan, Śrīla Keśava Gosvāmī, Jaya Gurudeva, 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 Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, 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 Jaya Gurudeva, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Thank you everybody for joining me. I want to show you one thing though. So I'm not sure if you saw at the beginning of this, I mentioned that I stayed up like till 1:30 in the morning, or almost 2 o'clock in the morning, maybe even. Yeah, I was working on, what I was doing was, because yesterday was such a big day, we did so many postings. I posted my Paramgurudeva's aunt's song that she wrote about him, Sarojavasini Devi. She is Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's first female disciple. And so I published that on the Gaudiya Kirtan mailing list. Then after, I proofread an article that Srivas translated, an amazing article. It's very dense though, but it's here, bigdrum.us. You can see it there. It's called Mayavad Timir Paskar, a sun to the darkness of impersonalism, by my Paramgurudeva, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keśava Gosvāmī Mahārāja. Yeah, this is an amazing article that Srivas translated here. So you can go there if you want to read it, bigdrum.us. And then I posted this article that we just read, Kushum Chayanika, posted that in 4 different places, on Pure Bhakti websites, on Raise of the Harmonious mailing list, and Facebook, and 2 places on Facebook. And then what took the most time out of everything though was, if you go to vineofdevotion.com, that's my website, and you see this article, one must correctly identify a Vaishnav. So this article, this is my favorite article by my Paramgurudeva. It's a 10-minute read. But what took me such a long time was I read it out on this new podcast channel for Vine of Devotion. See? One must correctly bound jivas like velop and effect to identify a Vaishnav. But I was practicing each sentence so that I could read it nicely, and I'd get mental and I'd keep on doing the sentences over again, and so that's why it took me so long. I finished really late at night, and then I sent it out on the mailing list, but then I noticed on the mailing list in the email it wasn't even there. So nobody even got it, unless you go to the website, but not that many people go to the website. But anyhow, if you would like to hear this article, it's here. Vine of Devotion now has a podcast channel on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts also. You can find it in those 2 places. Or you can just go to this website, vineofdevotion.com, and you'll find it here. You can just click right there and listen to it. And then, yeah, this article though, it's a must read. Really, you should, if you haven't read it before, I highly recommend reading it today. One must correctly identify a Vaishnav. All right, so I'm gonna make this article into a YouTube video right now, and I'll post it on the Vine of Devotion YouTube channel. But all right, everybody, thank you so much for joining me. I haven't done Jaidvani yet, so I'll do that. Also, my Srivas's page, bigdrum.us, and my page, vineofdevotion.com. If you haven't done so already, you can subscribe to them both, and you'll receive every time Srivas, everything that Srivas puts out is translated into English for the first time. And I put out something, like I write something the day before each Ekadashi, and then I often post my favorite articles on special days. All right. Jai Shishi Guru Garanga Gandharvika Giridhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki jai. Shishi Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju ki jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupada Shutarashata Shishmar Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gosvāmī Mahārāja Śrīla Gurudeva ki jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupada Shutarashata Shishmar Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosvāmī Mahārāja ki jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupada Shutarashata Shishmar. Did I say Vaman Goswami? Srila Bhaktivedanta Trivikram Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatarashata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatarashata Shishimar Bhakti Pragyan Keśava Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Tadya Shubha Abhirbhav Titi ki jai. His 125th appearance day ki jai. Abhirbhav Titi Palan Kari Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatarashata Shishimar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Nityalila Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Śrīla Gaura Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupa Anuga Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa sorry, let me Śrīla Gaura Das Babaji Maharaj, Śrīla Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai, Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Sorry, I spaced out for a second. Shri Rupa Anuga Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopala Bhatta Dasha Gurnath Sharda Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Śrīla Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kshetra Mandal Gaura Mandal Vraja Mandal Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kunda ki jai. Shri Amuna Devi Ganga Devi ki jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Purnamasi Yoga Maya ki jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keśava Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Sattvatai Namo Namaha. Vancha kalpatarubhyashta kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Dandavat pranams, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you all tomorrow. I'm not sure, should we read more about... No, maybe we should read about Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada starting tomorrow and also the day after tomorrow. Yeah. All right. Hey, look, we're ending just at 1:08. See, what an auspicious time to end our reading. All right, everybody, Haribol. Oh, Hare Krishna.